Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Wanted to come to you this morning with a book chat. I wanted to talk about a book by the title of Patina. It's by Jason Reynolds. It's in his track series. It'd be book number 2 in the track series. This track series has been excellent. It's a middle grade book. I don't usually read middle grade books, but I read book 1 of this series and kind of got hooked. I love how this series deals with kids problems that they face. I think that Jason Reynolds is spot on a bunch of stuff. Anyway, this is a 2000 and let's see here, 2017 book, and it is from Caitlin Delawy book. Anthem Books for Young Readers out of New York, and I just thought it was an excellent book. Book 1 was called Ghost, and so this is, like I said, book 2. So basically in this story, this girl named Patina, they call her Patty, she is a runner on this track team. She's a middle distance runner, runs the 800, and she faces a lot of adversities in life. One night, her dad went to sleep and never woke up, and this was, when she was younger, and so that created a problem. Her dad was a fan of cooking and made a lot of good food. The mom, she kind of went into depression when the dad never woke up, and for obvious reasons, but mom starts eating, and mom ends up having problems with diabetes, and she kind of substitutes food for her husband, who's now gone. And anyways, diabetes kicks in, and Patty's mom ends up, she starts with losing toes, and then they have to take her feet, and eventually have to amputate both of her legs. And this kind of incapacitates her in a way, obviously. And Patty and her little sister have to move in with her aunt and uncle. Now, the uncle is the brother to her mom, and her new mom, or Momly, is what they call her. Her name's Emily, and kind of the new mom figure. So they call her Momly. She is white, and of course Patty, as you can see on the cover, she is African American, and so she deals with some obvious issues that start to spring up, and the whole story goes through not only those issues that I just mentioned, but she's also moved into a kind of a rich kid's school, and she is not from the rich part of town, and so she deals with some of those issues. She's one of the only, if not the only, one of the only African American kids in this entire school, and so she deals with some obvious issues there. And she's trying to make friends in this school, and trying to do well in school to please her mom, and trying to do well on the track team. The track acts like a like a therapy for her, basically. And so anyway, this book hits on all kinds of big issues that kids meet up on. So I've got a lot of sticky notes here, and I'd like to just kind of go through them if you can bear with me. I don't have it all memorized. They were just, honestly, there were too many issues that came up in the book to even give you one sit down, look at the camera style video. I kind of have to go back and forth between my sticky notes. So if you can bear with me and just kind of listen in on some of these problems, I think you'll understand why I like this book. So we talked about mom suffering from diabetes, loses both legs. We've talked about that. So let me move to the next one. So anyway, mom also in this story, mom's a churchgoer. We find that Patty, in the very first race that comes up in the book, and by the way, this is a continuation of Ghost. This is like the next week, and so we find that Patty ends up getting second place in her race, and she is an extremely sore loser. Doesn't really know how to deal with losing her race. Winning is the only thing the only way, and I can really relate to that. I know when I was a kid and I dealt with all my issues of being young, and of course I was adopted, went through foster care, adopted and everything, and my sports were my therapy, and I hated losing as well. I was kind of in the same boat as Patty, so the story speaks to me a little bit. But my mom always said that when football came around when I was in high school, that you couldn't, after Friday night, you couldn't talk to me till like the next Thursday, right before the next game. And we always joked about that. I hated losing, and it put me in a sour mood for several days. And the sad part of it is, when I was a senior, we lost a lot. It was a long fall season. But anyway, let's see here. Oh, I forgot to mention, as all this is going on within her family unit, Patty finds herself taking on large roles within the family. She takes on the mother role because of her little sister, and she has to take care of her mom as well. And she finds herself as just taking on big burdens that kids shouldn't have to take on. I mean, she's doing the cooking. She's getting her little sister ready for school, getting her dressed, always doing her hair. There's a big scene talking about fixing the hair up. Momly, the white mom, doesn't know how to deal with the African American hair, and so it's kind of a funny little deal in the book talking about that. And so the little sister always wants Patty to do her hair, and so they kind of have a little special bond with that. And again, it's just one of those those differences that we see throughout the book. Let's see here. Next, moving to the next one. Again, I said that she uses track as a therapy. It helps her deal with all the changes in life, which she's facing quite a few of. And she also uses track as a way to honor her dad. They talk about what it meant to her dad that she could run and all of that. And so she always wants to be number one, because she feels she lets her dad down if she's not number one. She's going to Chester Academy. That's the name of the rich kid school that she's now going to. She finds out that that's where Momley, the new mom figure, where she went to school. And of course, she has this idea about Momley that she was just a bit of a rich kid like all these other ones, but she finds out later in the book that might not be the case. And there's a big theme in here about not judging a book by its cover, and that people put up fronts. People put on new faces depending on the situation they're in. Huge message about that, and how people do that, no matter if they're kids or adults. I thought that was good that he hit that. Let's see here. Talks about just the fact that in this school with the new rich kids, they talk about just the differences between rich and poor, and just owning things versus not owning things. And there's a huge discussion about that throughout the entire book, and how that can affect kids. Let's see. She throughout the book is constantly trying to fit in. Of course, she obviously sticks out just because of her background. She sticks out at this new school, and she wants to fit in, and talks about when she eats lunch, instead of going and finding a table to sit at, she sits and circles the lunchroom. She continually eats standing up, and some of the other kids kind of pick on that, or they pick up on that, and they invite her over to the table. It happens to be the same kids that she is in a project with in one of her classes. And so she is not sure whether to trust these kids, whether it's are they actually trying to befriend her, or are they just wanting her to do more of their project. And we see that. And as a middle school teacher, I see a lot of that. You put them in a group. Group work is great, but you almost always have one slacker that siphons off of the other members of the group, and usually have one figure that does a lot of the work. And Patty happens to be the figure that's doing a lot of the work. Anyway, there was a couple interesting quotes that I picked up on here, and I wrote those down. So she says, "And no, I don't know why I, I care. Why these girls in my class matter to me, except for the fact that I'm just trying to make the best of the situation. And so, as much as she wants to say that she doesn't care about fitting in, she does care about fitting in. And then she also goes on to say, a couple pages later, she says, but still, I was waiting for them to ask, waiting for them to be normal, or at least treat me normal. And so, all kids definitely go through that struggle. They want to fit in. Everybody wants to fit in. And, we tell the kids at school that, you see somebody sitting by themselves, invite them over. Life is too short to make enemies. Life is too short to be mean. Treat others as you want to be treated. Follow that golden rule. That's one of those in my classroom that I really hit on. Speak to others like you want to be spoken to. If you don't like being called names, don't call other people names. Just basic stuff like that. Let's see. And then there was another one that says, I was ready to jump out and run in. Let me start over. I was ready to jump out and run and hit the track, which I got to admit for me, even with just a second place ribbon, was sometimes more home than home. So this is getting out of, talking about that other thing. This is more talking about what track does for her. That she feels at home on the track. It's her therapy. It's where she definitely feels like she fits in. She fits in with the kids that she's running with. So moving forward, we get into, I love the coach. The coach was great in the last book, and he continues to be great in this book. But he uses the analogy that well, first of all, in the last race, Patty, when she lost, she pouted the rest of the race and then didn't cheer her teammates on, and she was just a really bad teammate, is what it all amounted to. So he begins to formulate the relay team, and he puts Patty on the relay team, and he's talking to these girls, and he says, when you're on the relay team, passing that baton is much like passing your energy. You gotta pass your energy on to the next player and not let anything hinder that. Don't let it slow down. You got to keep that same speed, keep it going, and so he goes on to say, when an athlete bulls up and pouts, they aren't passing energy, and it hurts the entire team. And so he's giving this message to the team, but it's specifically aimed at Patty. And he does this quote here. He says, "We're a team. You can pout and shout, but you cannot check out." And I love that as a coach. You get on your players about checking out and not staying in the game and that kind of stuff. And I thought that was a big message. So he goes on to say, the story talks about, hits big on Patty taking the weight of the world on her shoulders. And just, we don't realize kids internalize a lot of stuff, and they don't know how to, in their young age, they don't know how to get things off their chest. And they take the weight of the world. And I think as adults, we sometimes underplay that quite a bit. And I see it at school, and it eventually leads to a big blow up because kids don't know how to get rid of those thoughts, those feelings, all that kind of stuff. And so this book really does a good job of hitting on that, on how Patty is taking on, her mom's diabetes, her little sister, taking on these issues at school with homework, with just finding somewhere to sit, and just trying to find her place in life. That's huge in the book, finding her place in life, where she feels like an outcast in a lot of ways, just trying to feel like she fits in. So that was huge. She compares her mom's injury to being paralyzed, her brain and her heart. Mom began eating a lot of sweets to feel connected to her dead father. That led to the diabetes, loss of legs, and so it paralyzed her mother. I mean, she couldn't move forward because she was stuck in those issues with losing the dad. So again, just moving forward here. Oh, this is another thing that I really connected with, is as her mom lost of her legs, or lost her legs altogether, really. Patina had to grow up, and this is something that happened to me. I took care of my little brother in a lot of ways when I was younger, and you leave your childhood behind, and you don't get to be a kid. And Patty has this hit her big time, and she does not get to just be a kid. She's stressed out about the world, and I think that's sad. There's a touching moment when Patty is having to reassure her little sister that she won't lose her legs. Her little sister's constantly worried because their mother lost their legs. Little sister's worried about losing her legs, and so she's having to, try not to tear up while she's talking to her little sister about no, because her little sister doesn't understand the diabetes, and she's like, "You're not going to lose your legs." And then there's another part later in the book where it's kind of a tear up moment. All four of I haven't read the fourth one, but the first three of the four books in this series have made me tear up. But there's a tear up moment where her momly gets in a car accident, gets banged up pretty good. Some guy ran a red light and then took off afterwards, hit their car. She's in the hospital, and the little sister is scared to death about Momly losing her arm because her arm gets broken in, I can't remember if it's 2 spots, but anyway, it's broken. And she's worried about her losing her arm, and Patty has to reassure her and bring her back. So she's really facing some big issues for such a young lady. Let's see. In the group project, Patty has been doing a lot of the work, and her teammates in the group project have not. And a couple of them are what we would probably call posers. They're pretending to be something they're not. They're pretending to be the rich brats, and they are not. Their mothers are teachers, and so we see that the moms don't make a lot of money, and they're pretending to be things they're not. And so we see this idea of putting up this front, which kids do all the time to deal with situations. They put up fronts. They pretend to be what they're not. And so she deals with this, and it's kind of a relief to Patty in the book when she realizes that those kids aren't really they're not rich kids. They're just like me. And so I was really happy to see that. It's almost like a sense of relief. Let's see. Oh, there's also another big message about just kids understanding each other. Communication. Don't judge someone when you don't know their situation. You got to communicate. Figure out what's wrong. Figure out what's right. Figure out, you know what I mean? Get to know people. Quit judging them and get to know them. Because once you get to know them, you can realize why they're acting out. Why are they stressed out about stuff? And so I thought that was a really good message in this book. Now, through the problem with Patty in the book, she figures out how to work out the problem, and it's with Momly. She talks it out, and then she finds out that, hey, Mom really wasn't a rich kid. She was just like me. She got to go to this rich kid's school because of her situation in life. And so, constantly she has a big blow up on the track team where one of her teammates says something about having a white mama and all this kind of stuff. And Patty flips her lid on this teammate, and this teammate happens to be one of her relay partners. And so we see this, don't judge. You don't know me. Don't judge me. This moment, and the coach makes the kids themselves work out their problem, and they weren't going to run the track. They both had to hold on to a baton, and they couldn't let go of the baton or they were off the team. And so they had to hold the baton until they worked out the problem. And so we see this idea of communication. And I just think that if the adults of the world would hear this lesson, we could go quite a ways if we would just communicate instead of fighting. Communicate, and we get to understand each other. I think that's huge. So anyway, moving forward here, I like the discussion in the book about the different types of families, and and I like this. You know, they were talking about when she works this out with her teammates and stuff, and she explains that that's not my mom. That's my aunt. I live with her because of the situation with my mother, and my father's not around. He's dead, and my mom has diabetes, has no legs. So we go here, you know, to get help, and so there's this. Not only do we work that out through communication, like I said earlier, but we also see this brilliant use of the story in showing that there are many types of families out there. And as a middle school teacher, you know, nuclear families are not the norm anymore. Just a mom, dad, and the kids. It's just not the norm. I don't know how else to say it. You've got so many different types of families, of different family groups, different family units out there, and you got to talk kids through that and help kids with that, because sometimes it works and sometimes the kids have problems that they are having a lot of trouble expressing, and so you got to help kids through that. And I think he does a good job in this book of really hitting on that. Oh, there's another message about, you know, love. Patty's at with this group project at one of her friends' house, houses, and the kids' parents are rich. It's a huge house, and she's been judging this partner in the project as just being some rich kid. And when she gets in there, and there's a lot of snide remarks about, yeah, I've got this house, but where's my parents? You know, comments like that, where you really get this sense that the kid, instead of having money, would really just like to have her mom and dad around, like to be able to see them, talk to them, get a hug every once in a while, instead of having a nanny take care of things. And, you know, having money's, I mean, that's great, but there's bigger things in life, just love in general. And so I think that's a huge message in the book. Something that we can solve as parents, you know, love your kids. And so we get back to that, don't judge a book by its cover. And I love this when we were talking about the other kids in the project that are not pulling their weight. Let's see here. She says, and she finds out that they're teachers' kids. And it's hilarious. She says, Boney McPhoney and her cousin Lili, all this time, I'd been thinking about Taylor and TT like they were some kind of royalty, when they were really just regular girls pretending to be the same thing they're not, something they're not. They're cornballs. And I mean, it was just funny how that plays out in the book. And, you know, you come to realize that even if they do have a lot of money, it doesn't make them good people. So another big message, listen. Take the time to listen, because you can learn something about people, and you can know and understand what they're getting through. Just getting to know people. And here was another quote that I pulled from this. Mr. Warren to Momley, he says, folks who try to do everything are usually avoiding one thing. And this is when Momley was telling her background story. You know, some people, they try to be busy bees to make up for what's going on in life, and they don't slow down to take care of problems. And that can lead to volcanic eruptions. You know, you gotta work through stuff. So again, looking at that message, when you get to know people, you can get to know their past, and then you can get to understand them. And then there was another quote in here: a constellation that exists only on paper is useless. And so I really liked that one. That one hit me. And anyway, I think I don't want to ruin the story, so I might not read these last couple. I think you're getting the idea through the story. She's on a track team. She uses track as her therapy for all the problems of life, and all those problems are exactly what kids face today. I highly, highly recommend this book to anybody. I know it's a middle grade book. I don't typically read those myself, but it is worth the reading. BookTube, I really hope you guys go out and try to find this book. It's number 2 Jason Reynolds' Track series. Ghost was number 1, Patina's number 2, and then later on I'll tell you about the third book, Sunny, and it's a shorter book, but I'd like to share my thoughts on that. So hope you enjoyed this booktube. I hope it maybe sparks an interest. Go ahead and check it out. Thanks for watching. Happy reading.